What is up, Earth's mightiest subscribers? It's Ernie, Blerd without fear. Welcome back to the channel. All right, today's video, we're going to be talking about Children of the Atom, number 3 by Vita Ayala and Paco Medina. And in this video, we are going to learn a lot more about the character Gimmick and what her life is like outside of the Children of the Atom. We're also going to learn a little bit more about Cole and how he overcame his terminal illness. And more importantly, we're also going to learn how a Marvel Comics villain from the 1950s is doing something with genetics that eerily reeks of post-humans. We're going to talk about all that and more right now, but first, let's hit that intro.
Working wise, grass only greener when it's fertilized. Gave them truth in these songs, they prefer to lies. Destiny beautiful, adrift in her purple lies. You can't see me, you Stevie, wondering how I reach more evolutions than Evie and make it look easy.
Okay, so when we pick this book up, we immediately kick off with Gimmick, aka Carmen. She is kind of giving us a little bit of insight into what her life is like outside of being one of the Children of the Atom. We actually got something similar with Gabe, aka Cherub, in the previous issue this time, where we kind of learn a little bit more about her family, her history, her background. Not a whole terrible lot, but we're learning just enough to kind of get breadcrumbs that allow us to draw some inferences. Now, in this particular case, we're learning that, and this is something that actually kind of surprised me, because in the previous 2 issues of Children of the Atom, Carmen has been drawn to appear at the very least Afro-Latina. Now, that being said, it's not to say that she isn't, but I do find the makeup of her family very interesting because both of her parents are Latinx. Now, that said, we don't really know exactly like what parts, what the heritage is overall, but there does still seem to be a little bit more of a clear-cut idea that in some way, shape, form, or fashion, she is Afro-Latina. All that aside, we're learning more about what her parents go through. Her parents work a lot. Her dad runs a truck, which they don't really say exactly it is a food truck, but it's kind of implied that it is a food truck. We also learned that her mother is a teacher and she is always working long hours and helping other students and doesn't really have time to help take care of Carmen's other siblings, of which she has 2 younger siblings, a brother and a sister, who she also helps take care of. She also takes on jobs babysitting because, as she points out, other people trust her because she can make other kids behave in ways that other people can't. She also talks about how people love her and her cosplay, and people always want to emulate what she's doing. And not only that, but she's also a live streamer going by the name Faintly Frosted Stitches, where she gives people tips on how to make their own costumes and all that other stuff. Like, she is a content creator personality. I thought that was actually a really nice and interesting touch because it's never really explicitly stated up to this point that she even does it in the first place. Of course, with all this going on, she also does feel a great bit of weight on her shoulders because she takes on all these other responsibilities because her parents aren't always going to be there, and she knows she has to help out around the house. She also knows that she has to do all these things to help her friends, make sure their costumes are ready so they can go out and fight crime and, be mutants together. When you look at all this, we're given this impression that Carmen is the type of person who will do anything and everything and go above and beyond the call of duty to help anyone, really, friend or not, that she's willing to put herself on the line and do for others what others probably wouldn't even think to do for her. And that's kind of the thing about it here, is that Carmen kind of wants that back in return. She wants to feel loved. And it's not to say that she isn't loved or that she doesn't recognize that she's loved. She knows that she is loved. She knows her parents care about her. She knows her parents love her. She knows that her siblings love her. She also knows that the Children of the Atom love her. Those are her friends. But at the same time, she wants to feel that she is loved, and that's exactly what's lacking. There is a huge difference between knowing that you're loved and actually feeling that you're loved, and that's what she is lacking. And now when we get into the whole love part of it, that's actually something that's going to come up more than a couple of times in this issue, is the fact that Carmen wants to feel loved. She wants someone to do for her, like the things that she's willing to do for others. She wants to feel that same way, but to have someone else make her feel the way, for someone else to do for her what she's doing for other people. And what comes up in this is that she is technically technically, and this has been implied in the first issue or two, that Carmen and Gabe are an item, that they're dating. And it's also been implied in the previous issue that Buddy, aka Cyclops Lass, is technically interested in Gabe. At least that's what I thought at first. And I don't know, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Buddy seemed to have been really focused in on Gabe in the first issue when they were watching him play basketball with Cole. But then something else struck me in this issue, that maybe Buddy might also be interested in Carmen, because Carmen more than implies that she is interested in Buddy, because she goes on in this issue talking how she wishes the other person would say something, saying, I wish that she would recognize, I wish that she would notice. And it becomes even more obvious later on in the issue, and we'll get to that here in a moment as well, but it becomes incredibly obvious that, yeah, Carmen is into Buddy. Buddy is presumably into Gabe, and Carmen and Gabe are in a relationship, and we don't really know how Gabe feels about Buddy, but we do know how he feels about Carmen. So it makes for a very interesting dynamic, and if you go back to that first issue, and if it does turn out that Buddy's actually into both of them, then it makes an even more interesting dynamic there. What really kicks this issue into high gear for me is the fact that we get notice of an instance that happens with Cole where they are invited, the entire gang, the Children of the Atom, are invited over to Cole's house for dinner. Now, this is a dinner that Carmen's not going to make it to because, as she says earlier in the issue, she doesn't feel well. And at first it seems like nothing, but there's more to it, and we'll talk about it when it's more appropriate. However, when they're invited to Cole's house, they meet with his parents, Mr. and Mr. Rivera, and they have a house guest over, and it just so happens to be none other than Dr. Arthur Nagin, aka Gorilla Man. And I know what some of you are thinking. You're probably sitting there thinking, who the f is Gorilla Man? Well, here's the thing. Gorilla Man is a character who first appeared in Mystery Tales number 21 in 1954. He's an old Heroes for Hire / Spider-Man villain. Honestly, I'd forgive you if you didn't know who he is. He's a guy who basically used live gorilla organs for human surgeries, and while of course he was saving lives, I guess in some way, shape, form, or fashion, he was doing it in a rather villainous way, and in turn, he had his head grafted onto an actual gorilla by actual gorillas who took revenge on him for harvesting their organs. This has led to Gorilla Man essentially having the head of a human, yet the body of a gorilla. This, of course, makes him incredibly strong and durable, but yeah, this is kind of why if you notice that he's wearing a full suit and he kind of looks like he's rather of old school X-Men era Beast size. Remember when Beast, before he became the big blue furball, he was just a big dude with really big hands and feet. Well, that's what this guy has going on. It's an interesting thing, but neither here nor there. Point of the matter is that this guy, Gorilla Man, aka Arthur Nagin, he has an organization called Real Unity. Now, when this organization is brought up, it kind of comes off as sinister because this is the organization that provided the medicine that healed Cole. Now, initially, I was under the impression, and it was kind of hinted at, that maybe it was mutant drugs that did it. Because, we know that Krakoa is providing all of these mutant drugs that can cure just about anything. Well, it turns out it wasn't Krakoa that healed him. It was Real Unity. And what Real Unity does is that they're focused on Darwinism. They're trying to uplift humanity, and as Nagin brings up that they believe in Darwinism but not in inevitability, he says that we believe that it is our right as human beings to better ourselves, to mold ourselves into the fittest, to survive. And when he says that, and of course knowing that he's a villain, it's kind of easy to look at it and be like, all right, where's the other shoe that I'm waiting on to drop here? But when one of the Riveras brings up that they actually explore both human and mutant DNA. Also, one of the Riveras is quick to point out that Nagin is not a bigot, which, I don't know, I kind of feel like they might just not understand the full scope of what Arthur Nagin is about, but who knows? This could be true. This all could be true. But point of the matter is, Real Unity was the one who brought Cole back from the brink of death using mutant DNA, bonding mutant DNA with Cole's body, and as such, this actually makes him half mutant. that said, Cole is not a mutant. He's still technically human. He just has mutant DNA in him. But I mean, honestly, I kind of think of it as the one drop rule. You got some mutant in you, you got a lot of mutant in you, probably half mutant now. It explains why Cole has been able to do the things he's been able to do after coming back from that illness. And not only that, but he just seems more physically enhanced, at least even by Gabe's own admission when they were playing on the court. Now, when things go a little hairy is when the rest of the gang become interested in this whole mutant thing, because as both Cole and even Cole's parents are aware that the children of the atom, they are incredibly obsessed with mutants. Well, as it turns out, Cole, he ain't happy about this whole situation because he feels like the only reason that they're being friendly to him, the only reason they came over is because they're trying to get close to him because they think, oh, well, you're half mutant now. That means you can get us to Krakoa, that you can use the Krakoan gates. It does bring up a very interesting question. Can Cole use the Krakoan gates? It does make for a very interesting thing. And if that is the case, it makes me wonder if that is what Arthur Dagan is up to with this whole real unity thing, because it does sound like a very post-human operation. But once again, neither here nor there. That's not really what this issue focuses on, but it is definitely something that's worth thinking about and talking about on the side. And of course, Cole being upset with the idea, thinking that he's being used, he kicks the team out. And of course, at that moment, that's where things take an incredible turn because we go back to focusing on Gimmick. Now, to do that, we need to talk about something that's happened, what is presumably in the past, because we're not told exactly when, but we're only told that this was then, not now. This is something that presumably happened before the Children of the Atom's powers manifested, because at this particular point, no one seems to really be using their powers in any way, shape, form, or fashion. No one is even thinking about using their abilities, and they are all in normal clothes, not in costume. And we even get a little bit more information in this because as the children are on this ship that has left the Earth's orbit, and we're never told exactly what kind of ship this is, and I honestly think this may have been something that might be like a holdover from Al Ewing's Empire, maybe a ship that was left behind or a ship that was found crash landed in and around that point. But what we do know is that the character JJ, who would then become Daycrawler, he apparently ran into the ship when they found it, and that he dared his brother Benny to chase him into it, to race him into the ship, and that's kind of how the gang got caught up in it. But apparently the ship wound up being recalled and was leaving Earth's orbit with them still on it. And while they're on the ship is still damaged and starts breaking down, and an explosion sets off that knocks Buddy on her ass and ends up injuring JJ, and everyone's trying to figure out how to get out of the ship. And they do actually figure out there are escape pods on the ship. While they're on the escape pod, this is when a moment happens between Carmen and Buddy that also further cements Carmen's feelings for Buddy and may even hint towards Buddy's feelings for Carmen. Though in a way, I kind of get the impression maybe Buddy's feelings are just more of on a friendship basis. It's hard to say, but she does say some things that could potentially be misconstrued as her being in love with Carmen as well. But Carmen most definitely has feelings for Buddy. And while they're on the escape pods, Carmen's seatbelt snapped and the ship crashes, and we don't really know exactly what happens from there. All we know is that the pods crash, and when they get out of it, everyone kind of seems okay. Buddy seems to be doing better. JJ, presumably his leg may still be harmed, but he's riding on his brother's back, so you never know, could be, I don't know, here or there. But everyone, for the most part, seems okay. But it's when we cut back to Carmen being at home, she didn't go to the dinner with everyone else. She is the one who seems to be in some serious pain. She ends up rushing to the bathroom, and at first it seems like I was thinking, maybe she got pregnant or something. This is going to be like a teen pregnancy angle, because she seems like she's trying not to throw up. But what happens is she falls to the floor and she begins writhing in pain. Her body even starts to look emaciated in some ways, and that you can see the veins in her body start to become more prominent, and she is clearly not okay. And then the very last shot we see of her, as in her inner monologue, she's talking about how once upon a time she used to wish to be special, and now she's wishing that she wasn't. And we see her as her fingernails start turning into talons, and it seems like her body has been being eaten up from the inside. I don't really know what's going on with Carmen, but something wouldn't surprise me if there was some brood shenanigans going on here. It's not unprecedented for a brood infection to manifest itself in such a way, but I don't know, maybe what better way for some X-Men super fans to cement themselves as heroes than to take on the brood, especially with an infection coming from within their own ranks. I don't know. I'm not saying that's what it is, but it would not surprise me if it was. This issue took us in a lot of really interesting and different places. I wasn't expecting this to be a thing at all. I wasn't expecting the reveal about Cole and Real Unity and Gorilla Man, of all people, as like the last character on Earth that I would have thought to include in this, and I'm here for it. Hey, it's a way to make use of a character that no one really ever thinks about or talks about, and I thought it was really interesting. I think it also opens up some very interesting doors for the conversations we've been having about the children of the Atom, that they may not even really be mutants, that they could very well potentially be post-human, and here we have Cole, who is kind of a way to kind of point at that maybe whatever it is going on with Cole is going to potentially lead into more discovery about the children of the Atom themselves. I've said on multiple occasions that if they're not able to walk through the gates, then maybe they aren't mutant, maybe they are something else, maybe they are some form of human mutate, maybe, just maybe, they could be post-humans and don't know it. We don't know yet, but whatever it is happening, whatever they are, it's likely due to whatever happened to them on that ship, because I don't think we've gotten the full story on that yet, and I'm very curious to see how it plays out. I'm really anxious to know more about what was up with that ship, why did they end up running into it, and more importantly, what was going on with Gimmick. And once again, also happy to see more information about Gimmick given to us. I'm hoping within the next issue, maybe we learn a little bit more about Daycrawler and Marvel Guy, maybe, and presumably we'll learn more about Cyclops last. I'm hoping we learn more about these characters so we can get to know them better and kind of have more insight in their personality. I love the way Vito Ayala is setting them up this way, giving us an issue where we're focused on one of them to kind of get us familiar with them, and I like the way I'm liking the way it's playing out. And one of the things I do want to take note of is the fact that I know Bernard Chang has been working on this book, and I'm very curious to know why he's no longer on it, because they kind of just swapped him out with Paco Medina, and granted, I love both of their art, so it was fine by me, but no one's really given an answer as to why Bernard Chang was pulled off the book and why Paco Medina is replacing him for the foreseeable future. But either way, I'm happy with it. It's fine. It looks great. I read it, and there was no change in my opinion of the art in this. I thought it was equally as good as it has been. But I'm very much enjoying this book. This is one I'm definitely going to be sticking on. A new book came out today as well, X Corp. We'll talk about that in the video later. I won't get into that exactly, but I noticed with X Factor reading that too, it seems like we're getting so many X books, but it is interesting to note that a lot of them don't seem to be permanent books, like permanent runs. I know that some of the books will be ending at certain points, and as we move on, we know that Cable is going to be ending soon. We know that X Factor is going to be ending soon, so that way there's not a gajillion X books going on all at once. So hey, maybe this is a way to kind of let's keep the numbers down on this one. But anyways, I do hope Children of the Atom hangs around a while, and I do know that I think the next issue of Children of the Atom is being held back, I think, to come after the Hellfire Gala, so it'll probably be a minute before we see more Children of the Atom. But that said, if you enjoyed this video, Hulk smash that like button and make sure that you share this video all over the internet with all your friends so that they'll know how you leveled up your comic book big brain in regards to Children of the Atom and Reign of X. Also, on your way out, make sure to hit that subscribe button and let me know what you thought about Children of the Atom #3. Keep it plus ultra and sound off in the comments.